we are going to be turning these into little tote bags. So I'm going to fold them in half. We're going to put the little box cutouts right here, and then we're going to use the other material for lining. So I want to go ahead. This is double layered right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a cut of that. Let me get out my ruler. Right, let's get started. So I'm going to make my outline probably a little bit bigger just because it's easier to start that way. Like literally just a smudge bigger. Do this around the camera. Alright, and now I do want to turn it and cut my folded edge. Alright, so now I got two pieces for my lining, and I'm not gonna put batting on these, so yeah, we're gonna save those to the side. We're gonna go ahead and cut our corners. I'm gonna actually do it this way, so just line them up the best I can. You know what, I think I'm gonna go ahead and trim my edges so that they're lined up really nice. I wonder if we can go ahead, line all that up like that, and then go ahead and trim our edges. Let me see on that side. Yeah, so it's not too bad. Just so we have a nice straight edge on both sides. There we go. Okay, so now get out my, if I can find it, my 1 inch by 1 inch block that is normally right here, and I'm not finding it. All right, let's see, where could I have put you? I mean, I do have another ruler I can use. I'll just use that for the pan. And we'll go ahead. We're going to do 1 inch by 2 inches. So I'm actually going to do 1 inch tall and then go ahead. These are friction pens, so once you place heat to it, let me make sure I did that right. Oh, that was a little too tall. Once you put heat to it, they go away. So we're gonna go ahead and cut those. Why do I feel like I need to double check that one? Yep, I did that one too tall too. I'm glad I double checked it. So and I need to watch this folded edge. Let me make sure it's in there like that. Ooh, right on it. So for this, I just took the 1.5 inch strips that I had and just, you know, put them together like this. And then this was from the same fabric line, but it was just a 6 by 6 inch wide. So I just used that. So that is our starting piece, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this on there. I'm actually going to flip it around and line it up real good. I'm going to hold it up in the air just so I can get it flat. And then I'm just going to trace it and then cut it. I guess you don't technically have to trace it if you're going to cut it like this, but whoop. right, so now my lining is the same. And we're gonna go ahead, flip this over. Now I'm gonna do it to where I'm gonna sew around my edges first on both of them and create each one as its own. And then we're gonna combine them afterwards. So let's go get the sewing machine in place in a clear spot. I'll pull my chair up, get the sewing machine going. Let's see if I can just bring you guys this way. Get some of this out of the way. Put my tools away. Let me close that. Don't need my stencils anymore, or my rulers, I mean. So let me see, what is the size of this? I should probably trim that a little bit too, but that's okay. So this is roughly 21 inches long and it's like 11.5 inches wide. I am going to fix this though. Let me get my smaller ruler out, because that is pretty obvious that it's off. Some pieces are sticking. There we go. That's better. And then the other side looks pretty good to me. So, all right. Let's get sewing. Now, I've never done a video like this with the camera like this, so it's gonna take me a little hoping that it works. All right. So I just slide my sewing machine. Let me check the camera to see how it is. You guys are gonna get a top view of how I do this. All right, so I am placing these together and I am going to sew down the edge and down the edge, and then we're gonna box the bottom. So right sides together. Let me get this with my hands. You can pin it if you want to. I'm not gonna bother. I am gonna switch over to my regular presser foot that's gonna keep everything a little flatter. All right, so those are lined up. I'm going to do about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Grab my pedal. And my stitch length is at 3. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna keep it at 3. So I got my needle down and I'm starting at the top. I'm gonna back stitch at the top and then again at the bottom. Make sure those stay together. Okay, and now do the other side. Make sure those are lined up nice and good. And same thing, back stitch at the top and the bottom. Oh, and did it just come out? Yeah, it did. Okay, cool. Okay. And now I'm gonna box my edges. So I just take my corners. You can press this open if you want to, or you can press them to one side. I'm gonna just attempt to finger press it down because I don't have my iron going right now. Let's see, can I finger press it? Just open it up with my finger and then flatten it really good. And then I'm actually gonna lay this side flat so it keeps that pressed. And I'm gonna go about a 1/2 inch in or 1/4 inch in, your choice. I'm gonna back stitch at the front and back again. I always just like to do that to secure it really good. And we got it like that. Same thing, I'm gonna come to the other side. I'm gonna open that up right there and just try my best to put it right there in the middle. Okay, lower my needle, back stitch at the front and the beginning and the end. All right, so this is my outer, and as you can see, the inside is nice, and when you undo it, put it so it's outward. Oh, and you know what I forgot was I really want to put my, I'm going to show you guys, so even when this happens. So this is what it looks like. Isn't that so pretty? Like, yes, that's amazing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up right there, and I'm actually going to put in my tag that I forgot and just reseal it. So super easy thing to do. But I just got these and I'm really excited about them. So I want to make sure I'm remembering to put them in there. So I'm going to flip it back around. This is a super easy thing to do as long as you catch it in time. It doesn't matter what side you put it on. I'm going to put it right here in the middle. So I'm just going to take my seam ripper and get in there. Just create enough space. I'm going to fold my tag. Hopefully you guys can see this. And I'm going to insert it to where my fold is inside, and then I'm going to sew along this line. So I'm just going to stick it in there, and because it's so little, I'm just going to make sure that if I had my tweezers right now, right there, I know you probably can't see, but I'm going to put it back on my sewing machine. Ooh. And I have it sticking out just enough that where my seam line, or where my sewing line is, it'll catch it. So super easy fix. Again, I do want to go back and forth at the beginning just to seal it really good. Hopefully this is on there good enough. Let's take a look. It's a quick little easy fix. Boom. It's in there nice and good. I probably should go a little bit more on the bottom. It's just a little bit. Bit coming out, so I want to make sure it's in there really good. So let's check it. Boom, look at that. It's in there perfect. So it's my little That's So Chick with my chicken that's sewing. And it's back and front. So boom, got that on there. Awesome. Got my corners. They look good. You can even trim these if you want to, just so that it lays better and is not so thick. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All this will be covered up though, so perfect. Throw those in the trash. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with my lining. Now you can iron this if you want to first. If I was not making a video, I probably would iron it. I literally came on here like spontaneously, like, yeah, probably should have planned it out a little more, but you know what? It's okay. This is not necessarily a teaching video. It's a fun video because I like to just watch random videos. So maybe you do too. Again, right sides together. Ooh, got cut. Right sides together, making sure that you back stitch at the top and the bottom on both sides. Making sure that it stays together nice. I like to pinch the bottom just to make sure it stays together. And now we're going to do our corners, doing the same thing we did. We're going to press open. I like to stick my hand inside to really get it. Open my corner, center it the best I can, and then open, close my drawer. Open this. Now this one's a little flimsier, so it's a little harder to handle, but if you can get it, you're good. Okay, I think I got it. I like to use my surface, lay it down, and then just kind of fix it, because I do want it to be straight, and that's not straight, so let me do it this way. And like this, it might be a little off, but that's okay. You're going to end up cutting that extra off. I'm just trying to press it open with my fingers again, keeping that. This is probably the most difficult part of sewing a box bottom bag of any kind, is just the lining, honestly. So once you get that down, they're pretty easy. So I just want to make sure that I'm definitely, I'll show you here in a second, because when you cut your corners, this happens sometimes. I haven't quite figured out, but I want to make sure that I'm going on both the fabric, and then I can cut off all that excess. So I'm going to do the same thing, other side, line it up as best I can. Let me get my hand in there again. Line it up. I don't know why when I cut my corners that I don't always like, look at how big that one is. Look at how big of a gap. Let's see if I can move it up. and then open. Hopefully I'm in the camera. I don't even know. You guys are up top, so I can even lay it down, flatten it. Oh, sorry, I have an itch on my eye. Once I lay down, see how much gap there is there? I don't know why it always does that. Like, I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but it always works out because I can cut all that excess off. All right. And it doesn't really affect that I've noticed. You just want to make sure that your corners are the same length. So we're about to find out. So I'm going to cut it just because I want to be able to measure. And then this is what you do if they don't line up, because I have a feeling they're not. Look at that. One is way smaller than the other. So obviously I'm going to have to match the bigger one. So what I'll do is I'll pull it up, and I can see that I need to go about another 1/4 of an inch on that one. So we're going to do that. Opening that up and just kind of matching that same width as the other one. Now this is my lining, so it's not a big deal at all. The outer lining, the outer pocket, or not pocket, oh, it's eating my fabric. I went too far off the edge and it eats my fabric. But what am I trying to say? The outer fabric, as long as, like those, I know they're so much easier because they're stiffer, but I know that when I put these together, they're almost identical. So it's the lining because it's more flimsier. And as long as it's the lining, see, those are much better now. So now that I got my lining done, oh, the other thing I forgot, because I don't do these kind of totes all the time. On one of the sides, you want to leave, I forgot, a little gap. And I do this all the time. So what I do is I just unstitch it about 3 to 4 inches like that, because that's actually where I'm going to pull it through. So I'm going to back stitch those spots that I forgot to do. And it's funny because this is something that I know I'm supposed to do, and I don't always do it. So I just go back and forth to really seal those, so when I'm pulling my fabric through, I'm not going to rip it. Just back stitch. And you'll see what I mean by we're going to pull the fabric through once we're done. Okay, so now my lining on the side, if I can open it up, has that little hole right there that I'm going to pull the entire bag through. I probably should have made it a little bit bigger, but we're going to see if we can do it. Now, let me see. I think I'm going to undo this one, put it right together, and then I'm literally going to keep this one this way and put my right sides together. So I'm going to put this one inside, but I also need to grab my straps. So we're going to make straps here in a second. Or actually I have already pre-made straps, so I'm going to show you. So you just put those corners together, fit them really good using your fingertips on the inside to really poke those corners together, and like that, boom, that's beautiful. Okay, let's grab some straps. I think we're going to use this one that I have. I have some of this left. Let's see, how big is it and how big do we want it? What I do is I'll like pin it in place and just kind of look like that. Looks like a pretty good size. So what I'll do, I might not have enough. Usually 28 inches per side is what you want on a basic strap. So let me see if I have more of this one. I think I do. Nope. Okay, we're gonna use this one. This one has some gold in it, and I'm thinking, well, what do you guys think? Maybe not, because this is like a white, even though it's the inside. So no, that one's not gonna work. Let me see. I do have, okay, so I have this black one. Ooh, you know what? I think we're gonna use the black. I got these off Amazon. I also have this cream colored, which would go really well, but I think black. Let's do black so it pops. So we're gonna measure on my board here, 28 inches, and cut it, give or take. If you want it shorter, make it shorter. If you want it longer, you can make it longer. Okay, so now to add the straps, you wanna make sure that when you're just laying it down and then just bring it up, right? And then you're gonna put it inside, in between these two, keeping it together. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it stick out a little bit from that one and that one, and I'm just gonna pin it real quick just to keep it the same way, right? Now, usually I'll measure about 2 inches on a smaller bag like this, but hold on, I'm just gonna get them pinned in place. That's a little too far out. Pinned in place for now so I can stretch my fabric out and make sure that those are lined up. And then just adjust it from here. And you wanna make sure that these seams right here are perfectly, if you can, together, opening both of them, like this one's not open. Opening both of those so that those seams line up together. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it. I'll usually do this first. I'll get my corners nice and lined up. Open that up, open that up. And then I like these flatter ones for my corners. Now I can go ahead and pull my fabric a little bit, even with it pinned like that, and just make sure that it lines up really well. I think that's good, and I'll measure it here in a second. I'm eyeballing it for now, but let's see. Let's see how well I did. So from the corner, 3 inches. Ooh, that was pretty good. And so since that one's good, let me see if you guys can see. Yeah, since this one's good, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna pull them up, make sure that they're the same way, and slide them on in there. I know you guys are seeing from a weird angle, but you know what? It's gonna be okay. So I'm just gonna pin that before I measure it, just so it stays facing the same way, because if you twist your straps and then you sew it and you don't realize it until afterwards, that's not fun. So now I'm gonna turn it and face me, pull my fabric just to make sure that the corners are good, and then I'm just gonna eyeball it and line it up to the one that's over there, keeping a little bit sticking out so that you know that it's nice and secure on there. Lining up the fabric the best you can. Oh, and then you can also look at, because I did stripes on the inside, I know that it's in the center of these two. So boom, I know that's good. Same thing with this one. I have that pattern with a stripe right there. So I know they're actually perfectly even because they're on the same spot on both of those. So having a little lip on each of them, making sure they're straight, just play with it a little bit. And then when you go like this, you want to make sure that there's a nice circle around and like it's not puckering and stuff. So we're ready to sew. All right, so we're gonna literally take off this part and we're gonna literally just put it in there like this. Get it centered right there. I know you can't see, I'm sorry, I just looked up, but I'm doing about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, usually when you're making bags, a 1/2 inch seam allowance is perfect. Making sure that my straps are pushed out of the way down in the bag so that I don't go over the wrong part. And I'm gonna go back and forth to start with and go all the way around. And just pulling the bottom where the clips are, making sure that I'm not moving. And when I get to when I'm not moving it too much. So when I get to the strapped part, I go back and forth just to really secure that strap in place. I usually do it twice at least. And then continuing to come around. My lining might kind of pucker a little bit here and there, but I'd rather the lining pucker than the outside. Making sure that my sides, where the seams are, stay together really nice. I should have waited to take that off, but it's okay, it's still in place. Going over another strap, so I'm going back and forth a couple times, really securing that, making sure that when there's some items in this purse, that it is not going to break off. And just taking the pins out as you go. See, I got a little bit of a pucker, but I'll bring it to the corner. I know you can't see, I'm sorry. But I'd rather my pucker be on the corner than in the middle of the bag. And puckers are okay, it's what makes it handmade. Bringing this around really good. I mean, I try to do the best I can to make it perfect, but that's why I do my lining a little bit bigger, just so I know that it's gonna fit. I'd rather it be a little too big with a couple puckers than too small. Okay, I'm at the end, I just backstitch. And guess what, guys? We are almost done with this bag. Okay, so I've sewed all the way around. There's a little bit of a gap there. That's okay. We're going to trim all that off just to even it out. I like to do that because even though it's going on the inside of the bag, I just like there to be not too much clump. So empty that out of my purse. Okay, now we're gonna flip everything around. Oh, I forgot to, oh no, I did, but it just didn't go too well. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to make sure all of that is out. I'm gonna pull these apart, right? And I'm gonna find that hole that I created. Was it on this side? Nope, it's on the other side. And I'm going to, yeah, see, I should have opened it a little more, but we're gonna see. Sometimes I have to open it a little bit more and then I'll sew it afterwards, but we'll see. I'm gonna grab the corner that's on the opposite end. I'm gonna pinch it with my fingers, and then I'm just gonna slowly and carefully just pull it through. Now, depending on the type of batting you used, this can get easy. If it's a thicker batting, you definitely want to make sure you're leaving closer to a 4-inch gap and just pull it through the best you can. Trying not to rip it. If you do rip the threading a little bit, that's fine because you're going to be sewing it back together here in a minute to close it off. So getting my straps out. Okay, it's coming. That wasn't too bad. We have one more round of sewing. Let me get this little thread right here. All right, so I'm pulling it apart. Now I want it to have a more professional look, so I'm just making sure. I'm gonna stick my hand inside once I pull it all the way out. Stick my hand inside and just poke my fingers, and you can even use like a tool. A crochet hook works good. And just really make sure I poke out those corners. Okay, same thing with my lining. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure those corners are poked out. All right, and so now we're gonna close up. Sorry, I lick my fingers a lot. I know it's probably horrible. I'm gonna take that, fold those folds together, and I'm gonna run that on my sewing machine to seal that off. And then I'll show you guys how I add that final touch to make it look a little more professional. Going back and forth at the beginning and the end. I just sealed that, okay? Trim any thread. You have to pull it a little bit. Trim that thread. Because you went back and forth, it's nice and secure. Okay, now I'm gonna push that inside my bag. I have more thread right there. You'll go around and you'll cut all the little threads that are sticking out. Okay, push that in, really get that to where it's all the way inside the bag. I just use my straps to kind of tug it. And then I would actually take the iron, and that inside the bag, that little 1/2 inch you know, extra that you had, you're going to be pressing. Take it to the iron and really press that down really good. Will help a lot. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to do my best to hand do it. I'm actually going to go ahead, since I don't have it pressed right now, I'm going to take that fold and put the clips on all the way around, and then I will show you guys what I'll do. So if you don't have an iron, this is still very doable. Some more clips all the way around this, just to really hold that down since I'm not ironing it. Really feeling that, that seam on the inside. All right, so now I'm gonna flip it back like this, and it doesn't matter, this is the same on the front and back, so it doesn't matter where to start. I usually will do, like, I'll start my sewing for that final rim to make it look more professional. On the back side, I'll start that. So I'm going to take my strap and slip it underneath. That way I can continue to twist it around without my strap. Just one strap is all you need. So I'm putting it in, and I'm literally doing like a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's personal preference, honestly, but I like that 1/4 inch because sometimes I'll do 2 layers around, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm starting by doing a back stitch and just making sure that my strap stays out of the way and I keep that lining tucked inside as I go. And as I come around, I will unclip and just continue to pull my clips off. One day I'll figure out how to do the video to where you can see multiple sides of what I'm doing. And sometimes on these, on the seams, you'll notice it's a little thicker, so you just want to go slower. Make sure you have a brand new needle when you're starting projects. Otherwise, you're going to be breaking needles, which I do quite often. I'm going to cut this little string from my beginning, and now I'm closing it off with another back stitch. I'm making sure to line it up as much as I can. All right, so you could end the bag with just this. Trim my stitch, my thread, and boom, you have a tote bag with my little thingy, my little label. And then I like to take it and I'll push underneath right there, right where my seams are, and I will press it so that it really forms to that, you know, boxed look bag. And then you can even use like a thicker plastic or something and cover it with light fabric and, you know, cut it to the same size and lay it at the bottom, kind of like duffel bags do. But that's it. That is how you put together a tote bag. And my straps are nice and even. They're facing the right way because we made sure. But there we go. That is how I made my tote bag. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.